Hello there, it's me, James B. Welcome to my vodcast. I've got Eric St-Laurent, a fantastic guitar player, coming up in just a bit. But as always, I want to thank my sponsors, and maybe you would like to sponsor this. I know a lot of people have Patreon, so you might not be flush right now. But if you do have $5 to spare, $5 a month, it's US, so that's $6.61 as of today. But anyway, if you can do $5 a month, it goes a long way. Some people can do 10 or 20, but thank you to everyone who puts out on Patreon. And thank you to barberfinancial.com. Paul Barber, Smarty Pants Barber, I call him. I'm not so good with money, but he's helped me out a lot, and he can help you. barberfinancial.com. Tell him Jaymz B sent you, won't you? Okay. And Barbarian Steakhouse. I've got to get down there one more time. I'm off to Cuba on a jazz safari for Jazz FM 91. So hopefully I will get over there one more time. But you should beeline to 7 Elm Street for some yummy food. Before we get to Eric St-Laurent, Jazz Bistro tonight, my buddy Colin Hunter is singing with Joe Seeley Quartet. The music is incredible. And you know what? If you like Vegas, you're going to love his selections. It's like Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett's songbook. Irwin Hall is in Wednesday and Thursday at Jazz Bistro, a fantastic young sax player. And you know what I love about Jazz Bistro? $10 for students. It's a $20 cover, half price for students. Students should see this young whippersnapper. He's so good on the saxophone. Sam Broverman is there December 8th. I'm giving you a heads up on 2 Christmas events at Jazz Bistro. Sam Broverman doing a Jewish Boys Christmas. It is so much fun. I will probably get up and do a duet with him. Lauren Ferrero is doing her Christmas party December the 10th. This is the most traditional, perfect Christmas. She has a voice like Karen Carpenter. She's with Attila Fish, Great Bob Scott, Artie Roth, and Bill McBurney. It's going to be a Christmas miracle in there, December 10th. You can get tickets right now for all this stuff, jazzbistro.ca. Lula Lounge, Paco y Maito and Cafe Cubano are performing tonight. It is a dance party Friday and Saturday at Lula Lounge. Saturday, it's Lula All-Stars on the Salsa Saturday, but in the daytime, in case you're interested, Behind the Conga, a Cuban percussion workshop is happening at 11 a.m. at Lula Lounge. Lula Lounge are so community-minded. They're always doing interesting things during the day and at night. So check it out Saturday. Sunday, from 2 to 3:30, intensive caroling with Chris Murphy. Do you remember Chris Murphy? If you're my age, you probably do, because he was in Sloan, a fantastic, probably one of my favorite Canadian pop bands. And what a good idea. It's just going to be a room full of people, and he's going to be lead them in some carols. That'll put you in the mood. And December 1st, woohoo, 6:30 to 11 on Sunday, Greg Stafford is up from New Orleans. The great trumpet player comes up once every year, and it's called the New Orleans Stomp. It's going to be jammed in there every time he comes up. Rooms are sold out wherever he's playing. Well, Lula Lounge is the perfect place to feel the heat with New Orleans Stomp. Again, 6:30 to about 11 o'clock at night. You want to get down there for dinner. At Hughes Room Live tonight and tomorrow, Leahy. This is amazing to me because I remember seeing Leahy in a big theater. They're playing a cozy room like Hughes Room for only $35. That is a really good deal. So hopefully you can get down to that. Sunday, Oh Susanna is at Hughes Room Live. Oh Susanna and Friends. So it's singer-songwriters, all pretty much local. Alex Pangman and her husband, Colonel Tom Parker, are going to be doing songs. So I'm assuming that'll be either folk or country. I love when they sing together. December 4th, Patricia O'Callaghan is at Old Mill Inn. I have seen so much of her lately. I mean, not in person, but she's been playing around town way more than before. She's got at least 6 solo albums, and I'm a huge fan. Luke McMaster is there doing a Christmas show on December 5th. So all of this is hughesroomlive.com. And then at the Homesmith Bar at Old Mill, Toronto tonight, Amy McConnell is performing. She has kind of a Katie Lang class about her. She's really elegant. She picks cool tunes. She always has a great band. And Don Vickery is there tomorrow. The great drummer of Canadian Jazz Quartet has his own band in there. These are 7:30 to 10:30 shows. No cover, $20 minimum. Gene Denovi is there December 3rd. God bless him. I think he's like 91 now. I just saw Sheila Jordan at Jazz Bistro last week, and Boy, 91, it's the new 19 or something. I don't understand. Gene Denovi tells a great story, still sings and plays piano, 91 years old. So Tuesday, December 3, go and say hi, will you? I'm going to be in Cuba, otherwise I would be there. John McLeod is there December 4th, the great flugelhorn and cornetist, and Shannon Butcher is there next Thursday, December 5th. So lots happening, oldmilltoronto.com. Okay, we're going to go to Eric St-Laurent now. I have had the pleasure of working with him lately in the Tiki Collective. He's the musical director and chart master of that band, and I produced a record for them along with John O'Grant a couple years back, and ever since, we've just been having so much fun together. He puts out his own records. He's got a brand new record called Bliss Station that I love, and I love all of his albums. He's just an incredible, versatile guitar player. Like Ted Quinlan last week, I got some pretty good guitar players on this thing. So let's go see Eric right now. Hello.
Hi, James.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Early morning interview. Thank you for getting up.
It's 6 a.m.
Are you a morning person?
Yes, now I am.
Yeah?
I wasn't always, but that changed, and now I wake up very early.
Do you think this is an age thing, or is it just that you're really, really busy?
It's two things. It's an age thing, for sure, and then I also got tired of not getting enough time to do everything I wanted, and I was looking for other times just to get stuff done, and there wasn't any, so I started getting up earlier.
So you had to get up earlier just because you need more time.
Yes, and I find that I discovered that between, that's going to sound insane, but between 5 and 8, there are no phone calls and no emails.
Right.
And it's still dark in the winter, and if you feel alone and focused, and I make some coffee, and I do the stuff that I wouldn't get done otherwise.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I learned that about 20 years ago. Of course, I was doing morning radio, but I had to get up stupid o'clock.
Yeah.
But I realized those few hours in the morning, you don't get sidetracked. If you want to write something, whether it's a government proposal for money,
Absolutely.
Perhaps it's just a song or a project you need to focus. It's great.
Anything you need to do, morning's great.
So coming up in a week or two, I think next week, I have Ted Quinlan. Oh wait, Ted Quinlan was last week. See, I don't always record these in order.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to do that again.
Okay. Cut.
Last week, Ted Quinlan was on the show. I think it's a coincidence because I didn't plan this. Two of the most versatile guitar players I've ever heard in my life are back to back, and you both have new records out.
Yeah. I love Ted, and I look forward to hearing his record.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
and yours
really
is all over the map as usual.
Yes.
You have so many styles on one record. Tell us about, we're going to get into your history and a whole bunch of other stuff, but tell me about this new record and what made you go the route you did.
Well, for me, it feels unified. I wrote it with a friend of mine, Sebastian Studnitsky, who's an excellent musician from Berlin. I've known him for years and years.
Trumpet player and composer, right?
Trumpet player, composer, and an excellent pianist as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He's got a rich background, studied film music at Berkeley, and started a festival in Berlin called X-Jazz a few years ago, which is very cutting edge. It features some of the most innovative and interesting and new music from Europe, but also Asian bands, Scandinavian bands. Mm-hmm. I've played there myself, and I just loved it. And his sound, his trumpet sound, is unique. It's very lyrical. It's very soft. It's full of poetry, and that's what I try to write for that in mind. Of course, using the sound of my band, which is anchored around Michel de Quevedo's percussion playing. There's no drummer, there's no cymbal, whitewashing over the music constantly. Mm-hmm. It's very bare. And of course, Jordan O'Connor's bass playing, which is very interactive.
You've had this trio for a long time.
10 years.
Wow.
10 years. First album was 2009, Epoch, which Jazz FM played.
Yes, and the song Secrets, you've written the standard. Ted Quinlan had Go West, and you have Secrets.
Right.
There are some songs that just stand the test of time, and everybody wants to learn them and play them.
That's great.
Yeah.
So 10 years, and we've developed a relationship and a sound, and these guys know my music. We don't have to talk about anything. I just bring a lead sheet. They know exactly what to do.
Biggest compliment, Tom at the Rex
Yeah.
once told me that you're one of his favorite trios in the world, and whenever you guys play, he is so relaxed and happy. And I mean, this guy sees so much music in a year, right?
He does.
So for him to say you're one of his favorite trios, that's really something.
That's very kind.
Yeah, and honestly, the first time I saw you guys, I was walking in with a jazz safari on gate 403.
Yes.
And I already knew you, and I already knew Jordan. I had never seen Michelle on a drum before.
Yeah.
And he kind of had this like Johnny Depp and South American look about him. He had the little hat, a big smile, and he was just working that djembe.
He still does. He's still the same. A little older, a little wiser, a little better musician, but it still has this crazy energy. I remember I decided to look for a percussionist when I moved to Toronto, and I spoke to a friend, Karen Hack, who had an African-inspired percussion ensemble in Kensington Market, and I said, who do I get? She said, let's go and see Michel de Quevedo. He plays in salsa bands and Afro-Cuban bands. He's fantastic. He just moved to Toronto. I went to see him, and after, 4 minutes, I knew that was the guy.
So you also moved here from Montreal, right?
Not
But also
directly.
you were in Berlin. Like, so you had tell us a little bit about your musical adventure that got you here.
Well, I'm from Montreal. I played a bunch of jazz and pop music there, and then I started around the age of 22, 23 to get calls for TV shows, which was very exciting because there was money and my mom could watch it on TV and she was proud. That's always good.
Yeah.
But then that scared the hell out of me because I saw the other people who were doing TV and they were buying houses and stuff, and they were caught in payment systems and they could never leave the TV stations.
Right.
And then I got terrified and I said, no, not yet. It's not time for me. So I went to New York to try and make it into study. I studied with Adam Rogers and Wayne Krantz, jazz guitarists, and I stayed there for 2 or 3 years. It was difficult. I starved. I lived with cockroaches in Queens.
Yep.
And but I learned a lot.
Wait, that's a song. There were cockroaches in Queens.
Oh, that does sound good.
That's a good song
Thank you.
title.
Make a note of that.
Yeah.
At the same time as I was living there, I was friends with Richard Underhill, which you know very well, of course. And Richard had gone through some changes with his band and the Shuffle Demons, and they needed a guitar player, so I started touring with them.
Okay, now hold on. That's big breaking news to some people. The Shuffle Demons, world famous.
Right.
But they've never had a guitar player. And then suddenly, for this one moment in time, Richard decides, we're going to do something a little different, and we're going to go find a guitar player.
Well, all the other horn players had quit, and they wanted to have families, and Mike Merlin
And
was...
just stop touring all the time and teaching and everything. Yeah,
absolutely. So Richard was the only one who was still gung-ho, and he wanted to do something completely different. And so we made a quartet with guitar. And that lasted for 2 or 3 years.
Crispy Bacon.
Right.
I remember the EP.
Right.
Yeah.
And we toured Canada and Europe, Germany in particular. And so at the end of that period, the drummer, Greg Smith, ended up staying in Holland, and I ended up staying in Germany.
Berlin, yeah.
And I married there, and I stayed there for 11 years.
Wow. Now, this is something I only found out recently because I just came back from Berlin. And you knew people and they knew you, and I'm kind of like, how did I miss that? So Berlin, you're there 11 years before you came to Toronto to basically stay.
Yeah.
So the first time you came, you were here with the Shuffle Demons playing for a little while.
Yeah.
And then since then, how many years have you been in Toronto?
10 years.
10 years. So wow, 11 years in Berlin. Was it, I was just there and it was really experimental. The music was far out. Was it always far out or were...
Yes.
It's not the same scene.
No, it's a crazy culture of bohemian, experimental. There's all kinds of factors that contribute to that. One of the big factors is that it's a big city, and there's a lot of vacancy. There's a lot of empty apartments. At one point, there were over 10,000 empty apartments in the city, which drives rent prices down.
Right, and makes artists want to go live there.
Exactly.
Right.
Like what's happening in Detroit right now. Detroit is deserted, and artists are moving in, creating galleries and studios. So Berlin was always like that, well, since the 60s.
Yeah.
And so it attracts all these crazy writers, choreographers, dancers, jazz musicians, experimental turntable people from Germany, but the rest of Europe and Scandinavia and Asia and now Canada. There's a ton of Canadians in Berlin.
Right. I was amazed how many Canadians are there. And
Yes.
one of my Canadian friends said, actors here are happy because they all have work. Because there is one theater that hires about 80 actors and they're on salary for the year to invent and create and make things.
Yes.
And I've never heard of anything like it.
Yeah.
Ever. And so he said, yeah, the actors here get work. Musicians here get work. Now, it's not living in mink and gin.
No.
But it is work, and you get to be creative and eat food.
Absolutely. There's still apartments in East Berlin that are coal heated. So, it's not the same as here. You have to go and get your coal from the basement in the middle of the night, otherwise you'll freeze.
Right.
That's an example of, it's not the same. But you're right. The theater scene is extraordinary, and there's money for it, and it's a different system.
Yeah. So you get back here and you start making records, starting with Epoch,
Yes.
and you keep making records. The last record had some special guests, and it felt right.
Which last record? There's
The
so many.
Mustard, Arizona.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Sorry.
A little extra in there,
Yeah.
not just a trio.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Paul Pakinovsky is become a good friend of mine since moving to Toronto. I met him on jobbing gigs, but he's not a jobbing musician. He's a very inspired composer, creator. He's one of these people who mastered jazz, both on alto and tenor, and also soprano saxophone. He's an accomplished clarinet player who plays classical music, Schumann pieces with his wife, who's an extraordinary pianist. He composes modern music. He's everything. He does everything.
So it's great because you basically introduced him to a whole bunch of people that didn't know him before that.
That's right. He at the moment he's not as well known, but just about 10 years ago, if you speak to all the musicians who are maybe 10 years older than I am, they all know him.
Right. Right. A musician's musician, but not the masses. Like when people would see
Yes.
that name, they'd look it up.
Yes.
On your record, they go, "Oh, who's this guy? I don't know this guy."
Anybody who hears him immediately takes a liking to him because
Right.
he's a warm, generous player, and I hope to do a lot more with Paul in the future. There's some new records, and I just actually produced a record of his original classical music that's coming out in 2020.
Wow.
With his wife on piano and various guests. There's a string quartet. There's all kinds of things. It's just absolutely gorgeous music.
Amazing.
Yes.
So the new record, you're having a CD launch soon, right? You're
Correct.
over at the Rex Hotel. Is it December 3rd?
It's the supermarket
Supermarket.
in Kensington Market, and it's December 3rd. It's an early show, doors at 6. Music is at 7 p.m. And after that, there's DJ and excessive drinking.
Yeah, it's a great little room in Kensington Market.
It's lovely.
Really good sound.
Yes.
And you kind of feel like you're not in Toronto. There's something about it that's a little grittier,
Yes.
a little more natural or
Right.
something. Yeah.
A little bit of Berlin, in fact.
Right.
Yes.
It's pretty cool in there. Who's playing on the show? Is it the three of you?
Yes. We could. I briefly entertained the idea of Sebastian Strunitzky. Almost came from Berlin to play with us because we're trying to establish some collaborations and between X Jazz and Toronto and possibly the Kensington Market Jazz Festival. They're similar festivals, so there's some communication there. But he couldn't be here for that show, which is fine. It's the three of us, Michel De Quevedo, Jordan O'Connor on bass, and me, plus electronics and new material, old material, and one set only.
One set only. Okay.
Yes, that's what I do now.
Cool. Really?
Yes.
That's your thing?
That's my thing. 60 minutes. I think that is enough information. This band is very intense. We give absolutely everything in every song, and I think 50 minutes, 60 minutes is enough music for everyone, and it's a good format.
I agree with you that taking a break between something like that is a complete buzzkill. Whether it's 50 minutes or 75 minutes, but it's not 45 times 2 or 3. That doesn't make any sense.
Absolutely. And what convinced me of this, or reinforced my conviction, are the shows at X Jazz, both at X Jazz and the Kensington Jazz Market Festival. Those shows are 55 minutes People love them.
Yep, you're right.
And it's done. It's done. After that, you can go and maybe see another one or take a break. But I'm not doing the long evenings anymore.
So you're a part of several festivals. I want to ask your opinion of a few things. So in Toronto, Kensington Market Jazz Festival, Beaches Jazz Festival, TD Toronto Jazz Festival. You've played them all, right? All
Yes,
three?
sure.
What are the differences for you? What do you look most forward to, or what are the differences?
They all have their roles and personality and reason for existing, and they're all compatible and different in good ways. I mean, I adore the Kensington Jazz Festival because the format, the 1 hour format.
It's truly unique too that people pay cash at the door. They don't get advance tickets. What Molly Johnson and her team has done is made sure that that place is just full of music lovers, and nobody balks at paying 10 or 20 bucks to go in to see a set of something that they know they're going to love.
Absolutely not. It's a great format, and one of the things that seduces me also is the walking distance. All the clubs are clustered together. You can walk from
right
one
within
to
4
the
blocks. You can see the entire festival.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. The TD Toronto is also walkable, but it's a little more spread out, and the density of the Kensington makes it a lot of fun.
Yeah. And the Beaches is just great fresh air and lots of free stuff to go around and do, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a separate entity all to itself.
Yeah, and it has other stuff also. The food, it's a lifestyle thing. I love it also.
Markham Jazz Festival.
That's also completely
kind
different.
of the best of both worlds too, because it's in a 4 block radius, like you said.
Sure, absolutely. Different, entirely different programming. I find it almost, I find fascinating how these festivals all find their niche and stay compatible and do have slightly different personalities, so they can all coexist and not get in each other's ways.
I agree. What about local clubs? Favorite places to play? There's going to be a lot of those, right?
That's impossible.
Yeah.
That's impossible. I right now, I play more than I've ever played.
I know, and we're going to get to that about your collaborations in a minute.
So,
I'll throw a few names of clubs and tell me what you like or have concerns about. Homesmith Bar Old Mill Inn.
Oh, it's great. They're all great.
It's almost the only hotel bar you can think of that people listen. It's a listening room, even though it's in a lobby bar.
It's a listening room. I would say that one's the most elegant. I feel wonderful walking in there. It sounds great the way the room is set up, and it's got a certain elegance that I enjoy very much.
And then of course Hugh's Room. You play that a lot.
That is maybe the warmest, where the people are the closest with the artist, and they're sort of involved. It's always a warm sort of audience. Also a great sound.
Lula Lounge.
Lula Lounge, entirely different. It's bizarre because you're high on stage. And it feels like a dream whenever I'm on stage there.
Right.
It feels like I'm half dreaming. And so there are people dancing, but I can't see them. I enjoy it very much.
It
I've
almost
taken
feels
dance
like
lessons.
it almost feels like you're in Brazil or Cuba or somewhere else. It does. The vibe in there.
The vibe is,
especially in the winter. It does not feel like winter.
It's like a David Lynch movie vibe.
Yeah.
That's very different.
Yeah.
Lula is its own animal.
Jazz Bistro.
Jazz Bistro, downtown select, fancy, exclusive, dress well, elegant also.
Good food.
Yes.
The Rex Hotel.
Well, the Rex is a classic. Of course, it's the first place I went when I moved to Toronto. It's how I managed to put together a little network of friends and colleagues and actually make a living in music within 6 months because of the Rex Hotel and the jam session.
Exactly.
It's a hub where all the jazz and blues musicians meet, congregate, exchange numbers, and say, okay, can you be on the gig next week? And so it's directly because of the Rex Hotel that I was able to make a living in
How about the Reservoir Lounge?
The Reservoir Lounge, that's
a hard one to describe to people that haven't been there, right?
I don't know, a little decadent in a good way.
Yeah.
A little bit like.
It's like a party in the basement.
Yes, yeah, and a continuous party for the past, I don't know, 20 years it's been?
Over 20 years, they have been jammed every night without advertising. I don't even understand how they do it.
That's also very warm. I know everyone there by name and the staff. Everyone's on first name basis for years and years, and it's fantastic.
Now, we haven't even talked about probably 20, 30 other venues that you play in regularly, because some are restaurants, some are smaller clubs, some are little jazz bars on College. There's so many.
Poetry Jazz Cafe is
in the market, yeah.
Wonderful place. Oh my God, the Painted Lady on Ossington.
Great party room.
And on and on.
Yeah, 120 Diner. There's just so many, right? Yeah, so many.
I've played, I don't know, maybe over 100 gigs at 120 Diner.
You have mentioned, and this is a cool thing, like you're busier than ever, but what you have been doing for other musicians, like your friend Paul, and for singers that I can't even, too numerous to mention, you really have a way of kind of nurturing. If you think a singer has something, you help them find their voice or get the best material.
Thank you.
I can't even imagine. Do you have any idea how many people in this past year that you've actually written a chart for or sat down with and worked with?
No, I don't count. I lost count.
I'm going to guess it's like over 50 people you've probably done this year alone.
It's something.
Yeah.
But thank you for saying that, because that means a lot to me, and that's something I've focused on consciously, is to try and help people find their voices.
May I give a toast to Mark Keysweater?
Oh, yeah.
The great pianist.
Because he's done that, definitely. Lots of that.
And since his health went south and he was not able to do that, there was a big lack in the city.
Sure.
I know Attila Fish works with a lot of singers. You work with a lot of singers.
Yep.
Mark was the guy in town that worked with everybody.
Yep.
And now a lot of those people and up and comings that never got to work with Mark are all saying, how do I get to the next level? And I certainly see that, especially 120 Diner, but all over the place, the people you've been working with, you're really helping them move forward. Is there anyone in particular that you think is just about to pop? Is there someone you're working with right now that you think?
I could think of 10 people. I mean, I always say this, the level of musicianship in Toronto is so extraordinary. It's so high. And I don't say this lightly. I mean, I don't have to say this, but it's just mind-blowing how good the average is and how people push each other and motivate each other, and
right. This place isn't cutting contests. These people nurture each other, show up at each other's shows.
Yes.
There's a real supportive scene here that is almost laughable to a New Yorker who would say, "Oh my God, you people are so nice." They'd italicize the word "nice."
They're definitely more competitive down there.
Yeah.
But look, if we have time for one, clearly Irene Torres. It could be a big year for her. She's ridiculously talented, driven. She's so good on stage. Her charisma, stage presence, delivery, power, energy, contact with the audience, all of that is fantastic. And now she's on to something. She grew up in Peru, and she's getting back to that kind of music, the heritage.
I had one person come up, I'll tell you, it was Lupamonti, came up and told me after he heard her sing a Peruvian song with you on guitar, he said, "Oh, look, she can sing in English beautifully, and she can do blues, and she can do whatever she wants, but when she sings that stuff, it's another level. No one in Canada is doing what she's doing right now."
That's what I think also. Yeah. And so I look forward to working with her on that record.
Well, I look forward to having her as a guest. I probably would have anyway, but now I've got it seconded from you.
You bet.
Good luck on your record.
Thank
I can't wait, man.
Thank you.
And thanks for all you do for Toronto. Don't go to Berlin. Stay here.
Thank you.
Eric St-Laurent, thank you very much. You are awesome, dude. If you get a chance to see Eric St-Laurent in concert, please do. You can thank me later. Next week, more special guests, more things in the club, so please join me every Friday right here for the Jaymz B Podcast. See ya.